Okay, you guys, today we're here with college students and we're going to talk about relationships and the impact that we all have and they all have on us. So why don't we just introduce ourselves?
I'm John. I'm a senior in college.
I'm Darian. I'm a college senior.
I'm Josiah and I'm a senior in college.
I'm Lauren and I'm a senior in college.
So tell me about your friends in high school or junior high. Like, what were they like?
My friendships were a lot more shallow as far as school goes. I found a lot of my closer friends in sports outside of school. And there's some people that I still see from high school, but a lot of the people that I was friends with in middle school and high school I was just friends with them because I saw them at school, if that makes sense.
Whenever I was in high school, I felt as if the more friends I had, the more popular I was and the cooler I was. And so more friends equaled more popularity. And that's what I thought whenever I was in high school. Little did I know that's not very true in the real world. And so what I did was, as I started to know more people, I started to know their habits, and I started to know that they also did drugs as well. They did offer me some, and I did say no, but then I also thought, and I was like, should I maybe say yes? Because I still want to become really good friends with them.
I thought that when I was in high school that was who I was going to be forever. And so when I was sitting there on Friday nights when some of my friends were out at parties getting drunk and I was there alone with my dog, I was like, wow, this isn't going to be fun. You know, this is going to be me being isolated my whole life. And there's so much more beyond that. And I realized then, or I guess I realize now, that those people who made me feel like that weren't actually good friends.
What advice would you have regarding drugs and alcohol and the peer pressure that you feel, maybe like when you were in junior high or high school? If you're talking to that group of you back then, what advice would you give them?
I felt like the peer pressure was strongest because you feel like you're missing out. Like, you feel like everyone else is having all this fun and doing all this cool stuff, and even if it revolves around something you know that you're not supposed to do or you know that you really don't want to do, it's not something that really draws you. Still to the point of kind of the fact that society has turned it almost into a rite of passage. Like, oh, like, I'm in high school now, I can drink, or I'm in college now, so I have to drink and I have to go to all these parties. And I have to experiment with things I know that aren't good for me. If you have values and morals that kind of a code that you've set for yourself, don't stray from those because somebody wants you to or because you feel like it's what you have to do if it's something that you don't necessarily want to do. I would always make sure that it's something that you really think about and evaluate and take the time to really understand before you make a decision, because there is always room for growth, but some areas aren't worth growing into.
It only takes one time for you to take too much or drink too much for it to either end your life or alter your life to where it's never going to be the same. I lost my cousin when I was 11 to an opiate overdose. And I don't know exactly what it was, but it was a mixture of a lot of things. And he didn't know that was going to kill him. He didn't know that he had just a little bit too much in there. And that can go with anything. I mean, you can drink too much and then you get in the car and you think that it's not going to affect you or affect anybody else, and then you're too drunk to drive and you hit another car and you might kill yourself or you might kill somebody else and alter, somebody else's life. So many people can be affected by you making a decision that you shouldn't make.
The three things I think about is, how is this going to affect my health? How is this going to affect me as a person? And how is it going to affect the people around me? My great aunt died 3 years ago overdosing on pills. She, it started really young, and kind of, her health was bad. It affected her as a person, but also the people around her. Her kids were addicted to pills because of it. and they still are addicted to drugs because of the choices she made. So the choices you make not only affect you, but also those around you.
What are some ways that you've learned how to make good choices?
High school, middle school, all of that, it's such a transformative time in your life, like you said earlier, and it's easy to be a high school student and look at high school like it's the rest of your life, and that you're so old and experienced and you know everything about the world. You have your whole life ahead of you, even if it feels like you don't. And it's easy to feel so grown up at that point when you're not. And it's important to always think about the future when you're making decisions, and think about the long life that you can live, and think about things that might shorten it and might, like you guys talked about earlier, impact other people, because your reach is farther than you think it is, no matter if you know that or not. Somebody looks at you and finds inspiration, or looks at you and sees somebody that they want to be like. Someone somewhere looks up to you. So make your decisions for them, even if you don't know who they are.
Well, thank you all for sharing so many great stories and great tips for our junior high and high school people. We love them. We know that they can be successful, and so thank you for your time with them.